I've got a really bad one for you today. How do you get a squirrel to like you? You act like a nut. Hi there. Isn't this a cute picture? All the girls are like, yes, it's so cute. And all the guys are like, what? So, yeah. But I thought it was cool, this ring and this little heart in the shadow. So, we're going to be looking at poetry. Now, we're not going to jump straight into the Harlem Renaissance poetry just yet. Before we do that, we need to look at some basic facts about poetry, like how do we read poetry and what do we look for when we're reading poetry. So, you should have in front of you a couple worksheets, and we'll talk about that in just a second. So, today you will learn about important terms used in poetry, and that's about it. There are a lot of things we need to look at. And honestly, a lot of these things you could probably learn on your own. You might be able to even just use your worksheet and maybe just look online and get some answers. But I think if you really want to understand what these terms mean, you'll stick with my video and I'll kind of walk you through these terms and what they mean. I think that's probably a better way to do it. All right, and here's what you need for your lesson. This guy right here. Poetic Devices cheat sheet. Now, mine is already a cheat sheet because I have the answers. You don't have them yet. You'll get them by the end, though. I believe in you. So, um, we're going to look at some important terms. Poetic devices. A device means a technique that an author uses to get a point across, okay? So, writers use lots of devices. A device can mean uh, like a like a machine or something. So when we're talking about poetry, we don't mean literal machines. We just mean what are the tools that they use to get meaning across, okay? This cheat sheet's going to be very handy for you. You're going to keep coming back to it for the next few lessons. We're not going to fill it all out today, but we'll fill out some of the important ones, okay? Let's go. Okay, so let's look first at this concept of form versus content. This is one of the most important concepts you can even imagine related to poetry and art in general, even paintings. So, for those of you who don't know, I have a bachelor's degree in fine arts and painting, so I actually studied painting. And so, you know, those weird little paintings that have like just a giant black dot in the middle, and people are like, that sold for $2 million? I understand why. Like, I know why that went for $2 million. Maybe it was a little high, but I get why it's called genius, okay? You have to study these things. I know you're laughing right now. Mr. Faber, seriously? Yes, yes, trust me. Trust me. There's a reason. But let's look at form versus content. What is this concept and what does it have to do with poetry and art? So, first, form. Every poem has a form and every poem has content. Every painting has a form and every painting has content. Form is how the poem is physically presented and the techniques a poet uses within that poem. Okay? So it's like the phrasing and the letters and the way things are arranged on the page and some of the techniques like the similes and metaphors they use. That's all form. Okay? Now, something on the other side is the content. The content is what the actual meaning is. Okay? It's the actual meaning of the poem. So you can think of it kind of like a math equation. I'm going to go ahead and draw a math equation. You get to see me draw for the first time. I'm so excited. So if we have like 1 plus 3 plus that's an ugly 3. I'm so sorry. Plus 18 Oh my goodness. Look at that poor 18. It's hard to draw with a mouse. Yikes. Okay, 1 plus 3 plus 18. That's 4 plus 18. That's 22. 22. So look, here's the deal. Form versus content. You can think of form, for all you math people, you can think of form as this side of the equation and content as this side. Form is like all the little pieces of the poem. This piece and this piece and this piece of the poem. It's like we're looking at the similes, we're looking at the metaphors, we're looking at the author's word choice, we're looking at a whole bunch of things. And what they all add up to is the main meaning of the poem. It's the content of the poem. It's what hits you in the heart. It's what hits you in the mind. And you're like, whoa, that was interesting. That's the content, okay? So now that you know a little bit about that, let me give you an example from an actual piece of art, okay? Let's look at art and see how this works out. So I know you're like, art? Okay, not art. I'll take it back. It's not exactly art. It's a drawing, okay? It's not even a very good drawing. It's just, you know, something I pulled off of Google. But let's look at this. Form. Okay, so let's look at this as a form. What do we see? Okay, what are the things we see? What's physically presented? We have a couple different things. Overlapping lines. And I'm going to give you a second. We're going to pause here. I want you to talk with your partner. Try to list all the things you see. You see overlapping lines, but there are many other ways we can see this. So push pause on the video. Talk for a minute about what you guys see. See how many things you can come up with, okay? Pause the video. Okay, back with me. Okay, what are some things you saw? This is my list, okay? And I want to see if you have the same things or different things. I see fast lines. I see lines that were drawn very quickly. These are not slow lines. They're very fast lines. I see black lines, okay? I see they're dense at the center. Like as we get in the middle, they're heavier, and out here they're, well, you can't really see with my, okay, right here they're very thick and dark, and right here they're spread out more. They have more room. So that's what I mean. It's very dense in the center. Is there anything else? Oh, they're mostly vertical and horizontal. I bet you didn't notice that. They're mostly vertical and horizontal. These are not loop-de-loop. These are not loop-de-loop-de lines like this. They're not. It's not a scribble this way. It's a scribble up and down, and then a scribble this way. Okay, there's a big difference. Really? Yes, there's a big difference. So now let's look at the content. We have all these pieces, right? We have the overlapping lines. They're moving fast. They're black. They're thick and dark in the middle, mostly vertical and horizontal. What's the content? What do we think and feel? What does this say to us? What kind of mood was this person in? So push pause. What kind of attitudes does this indicate? Talk that over with your partner. Push pause now. And you're back. Okay, here's what I came up with. You tell me what you think. I thought this talk's all about frustration. These look like frustrated lines and anger, okay? And maybe even like trying to cover up a mistake. I would do this when I was in school. My math teacher hated it. When I made a mistake on a problem, I would obliterate it with ink. I would just like, ah! I get so frustrated. And she's like, you can't, you got to erase or draw a line through it. Just draw a little line. And that way I can see the mistake you made and understand it. I'm like, no, I don't want anyone to see. So, but this really indicates that, the frustration, okay? So now you can see there's a difference between form and content. And it's very similar to a math equation where you see all the pieces and you see what they add up to, okay? Let's move on. So, before we get too deep into all of the little ingredients of form, I want you to go ahead on your Poetic Devices cheat sheet, take a moment to write down a definition for form and content in your own words. If you need to jump back in the video a little bit, you can do that. But form and content, go and write down your definitions. Pause here. All right, and you're back. Thank you so much. So let's look very specifically at form issues. Poetic devices are form, okay? All of the devices we're going to talk about, they're all form. None of them are content. These things that we're going to list on this page for you guys to use, to reference, all of these things are formal issues. They have nothing to do with the meaning of the poem. What they do, they're pieces, and we're going to look at all the little pieces poets use. And then when we actually look at a poem, we'll talk about the content and what each poem means. So we're going to look at these things today. We're going to look at stanza, line, verse, couplet, triplet, quatrain, and rhyme scheme. Okay, so let's look at stanza. What is a stanza? It is one of the most important parts of a poem. It's how the poem is broken up into ideas that relate to each other. So my definition here, a line or a group of lines or lines grouped together based on a common idea. It is similar to a paragraph in writing, and it's usually separated by a space. So here we see the first stanza of this poem, the second stanza of this poem, the third stanza of this poem, fourth stanza of this poem. Okay, so this is If the Love Star Grows Most Big by E.E. Cummings. He's a very interesting author. He did some really strange things with text. He played with letters like they were pieces of art. It's very interesting. But that's a stanza. Let's move on to the next one. Lines. So if a stanza is the grouping of lines, then we can guess that a line is within that. So this is one line right here. This is the second line of poetry. This is the third, the fourth, the fifth, sixth, and so on. So a line is literally a line of text. That's what a line is. Okay? Let's go ahead and look at what a verse is. By the way, if you need to pause the video at any point and write down a definition in your own words, that's what you need to do. So right now we've covered form, content, stanza, and line. Let's move on to verse. So a verse is an interesting concept. Okay, a verse is a single line that is also a single stanza. So we have a verse here. Okay, this is a verse. Let me ask you this. Is this a verse right here? No, it's not a verse because it's more than one line. Okay, this stanza is actually 3 lines. So where's the other verse in this poem? Yes, you see it right here. It's at the bottom. That's a single line that is also a stanza all by itself. It's called a verse. Okay? Go ahead and write down that definition. Okay, so we're back. Let's look at what a couplet is. A couplet is a group of lines. So you'll notice here we're talking about lines. Like, what can we learn about lines here? Well, we have a couple different things. We have a line, which you know what a line is now. You know what a verse is, right? It's a stanza. That's a single line. Couplet. Looking at this root word here, what do you think a couplet is? A group of how many? Yes, 2 lines, a group of 2 lines. So a couplet is a grouping of 2 lines. Do we have a couplet in this poem? Nope, we don't. There's no couplet here. But what about a triplet? Like, I'm pretty sure you know what triple means. When you go to Wendy's and get the triple burger, what's it called? Triple decker? I don't know. They have like a triple patty burger, don't they? Am I crazy? Man, I went to Culver's like last night. I love Culver's. We should how about as a class we just go get Culver's? That'd be awesome. I think that'd be fun. Man, I love a good Culver's burger. But it was 2 patties. It was so good. But we're talking triplet here. That's the real thing. Triplet is 3 lines. Okay, so 3 lines in a stanza. Show me where that is. Just point to it. Come on. Yes, there you go. You probably accidentally paused the video by touching it. But yeah, right here. These 2. Okay, this guy and this guy. These are triplets. And then we also have something called a quatrain. A quatrain. So, what do you think a quatrain is? Cuatro, if you speak Spanish, cuatro means 4. Okay? So it's 4 lines. So here we have 1, 2. Wait, what? No, that's not right. I got my languages wrong here. Let's try this again. A line is a verse is 1, okay? A couplet is 2, triplet is 3, and a quatrain is 4. That's a 3. So these are all stanzas built of different numbers of lines. Okay? Cool. Go ahead and write down the definitions in your own words. Hi there. Okay, let's move on to rhyme scheme. This is one of my favorites. Rhyme scheme is super interesting. Let's take a closer look. So, we're going to work on this together. And you may have done this before, but when you try to find out the way a poet sets up rhymes in their poem, you have to assign letters to the rhymes. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, just be patient. We'll get through it together, okay? So essentially, you look at the last words of each line and you assign each word at the end, each sound, a letter, okay? So the first new rhyme sound, that means at the end of the line, you'll assign the letter A. And the next new rhyme sound is assigned a B, and so on. And if there are any matching rhyme sounds, they get the same letter as the original match. Okay. Maybe that makes no sense, but let's actually look at a poem and we'll go over this. So check out this poem. This is an amazing poem, by the way. It's called A Burnt Ship by John Donne. Let me go ahead and read this for you, and I'll give you a bit of the content, like what it means, and then we'll actually look at rhyme scheme here. So here we go. A Burnt Ship by John Donne. Out of a fired ship, which by no way but drowning could be rescued from the flame, some men leapt forth, and ever as they came near the foe's ships, did by their shot decay. So all were lost, which in the ship were found. They in the sea being burnt, and they in the burnt ship drowned. Now, I don't want to take forever on this, but this is an amazing poem. What you have is a ship that's caught on fire, okay, a fired ship. So there's a ship that's on fire in the water. We don't know how. We can assume it's some kind of war. And it says the ship's on fire. There's no way for the fire to be put out except to drown. So the ship has to sink to put out the fire. It's that bad. So we have a sinking ship that's on fire, okay? Then we have some men who leapt out of that ship and they started swimming toward another ship, their enemy ship, because where else are you going to swim? You can swim out in the ocean and drown. So they're like, maybe they'll have mercy on us. They jumped out of their ship on fire and they started swimming toward the enemy ship. But the foe's ship shot them, so they started shooting these guys in the water. And so all were lost. The guys on the ship and the guys swimming to the enemy ship were all killed. So all were lost, which in the ship were found. So those in the sea being burnt, so they were burned by the bullets is what they were saying. Like they were shot at, they were fired upon, like this ship up here. The ship was fired, a fired ship. So he's making a word play, kind of not a joke, but a word play, like a fired ship, like the ship was fiery, but also firing guns would be like, fire. So these men were fired upon. And so those in the sea were burnt, and those in the burnt ship were drowned. So you see there's a play here that like you're in the water, but you were fired to death, and you were in a burning ship, but you drowned. And this is like a really tragic poem, and the wordplay here is pretty amazing. So that's the content. That's what this means. But let's look at rhyme scheme because that's what we're here to do. Okay, not nerd out on poetry. Come on. What is this, an English class? Ugh, OMG, ELA. So here we go. Let's look at rhyme scheme. So my first rule is the first new rhyme gets the letter A. So right here, I don't even care what this word is, it's always going to get the letter A because it's the very first rhyming sound, because the last line. So I'm going to give this the letter A. A. Ugly A. But drowning could be rescued from the flame. Way, flame. Way, flame. Do they rhyme? Not really. I mean, they kind of like a little bit rhyme, but not really all the way. So the next new rhyme sound is assigned to B. Okay, so let's give this the B. Flame gets a B because it's a new rhyme sound. It does not match A. So let's look at this next word and see if it rhymes with either of these. Some men leapt forth and ever as they came. Way came. No. Flame came. Do they match? Yes, they match. So what letter does this get? B. Because it's the same. They get matching letters because they're the same. So right now our rhyme scheme is A, B, B, something here. Decay. Does decay rhyme with anything here? Way, decay. Way, decay. Yes, this rhymes. So this gets what? An A. It's a matching sound. Okay. What about this? So all were lost which in the ship were found. Way, flame, found. Nope, this is a new rhyme sound, isn't it? So any matching rhyme sound gets the same letter as their original match. Okay, but I have a new rhyme. So let's just go to the next letter of the alphabet. I have A is taken, B is taken, this is a new one, so it's C. And you can go through the whole alphabet like this. But let's see what this last one is. Found, drowned. Do they rhyme? Yes, they rhyme. So C. So our rhyme scheme here is what? A, B, B, A, C, C. So if I said, what's the rhyme scheme of A Burnt Ship by John Donne? You would say, oh, the rhyme scheme is A, B, B, A, C, C. That's disgusting and awful. Don't write like this. Please don't write like this. It's A, B, B, A, C, C. And the form here of this is used so that these C's rhyming at the end together kind of like punches you in the face a little bit. You get this nice kind of musical like this one, da da, this one, and then you get ba ba. And so there's this, the rhyming has that effect, okay? He's trying to really drive home an emotional point. And that, my friends, is rhyme scheme. Look up some poetry online and see if you can plot the rhyme scheme. It's a fun little exercise to do, and we'll do more of it in the coming days. You did it. You did it. So today you learned about how important terms. What? Okay, I can't read what I wrote. Let's try that again. Today you learned about important terms used in poetry, and hopefully you filled out your lovely Poetic Devices cheat sheet, and we got all the way down to A and B. Okay, in your own words, what do A and B represent? We're going to leave the rest of these for other days. So, man, it was good to see you guys today. Go read some poetry. See you later.